Welcome to EnVision Center News. Today's episode is all about Nami Far North with President Dr. Don Mira and our own spin coordinator Jackie Carter. We hope you enjoy.
Welcome to EnVision Center News. I am Jackie Carter, the Service Provider Coordinator for the Community Resource EnVision Center, and my special guest today is Dr. Don Mira. Don is the president of Nami, North Idaho. Thank you, Don, for joining us today. She's joining us from beautiful Costa Rica. So, Don,
Thank you, Jackie. I feel like a movie star, but I'm not.
Well, you look like a movie star sitting there in that beautiful sunshine. So, Don, can you tell us about yourself and what brought you to North Idaho?
Yeah, I can. So I'm a 30-year resident of Sandpoint in Pennsylvania, but I came here in 19 whenever. Anyway, my husband was veterinarians, and in we were of our practice in Jackson, Wyoming, to attend a wedding in Sandpoint. And besides joining up with long lost friends, we found a lovely community that appeared ready for another veterinary service, and that's how I got here.
Wow. It was meant to be, right?
Yes.
So, Don, can you share with us what led you to become a part of NAMI?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So we have two children who both grew up in Sandpoint, and out of the blue, our son had a psychotic break at the age of 19. And over the course of 6 years, he had 4 to 5 hospitalizations and a state commitment. This was tough. You know, his diagnosis was kind of like it took a long time to get, but he has been diagnosed with bipolar 1 and schizoaffective disorder, where thought interruptions, hallucinations, delusions occur during the manic part of his disease. Although we were medically trained, we didn't really know how to navigate the mental health system or the legal system, or we didn't know how to advocate for ourselves and him until we met NAMI members. And they helped us in the best ways. They supported us and they educated us. And before we knew it, we were breathing again.
Wow. So as a parent, that must have been really hard news to accept at first.
It was so tough. I kind of feel like that part of my life was just unreal. And there are all kinds of family dynamics that happened at the same time. You know, people don't really understand mental illness, and that goes to the family. It's not just everyone around us in the community. It's our family members that we have to start with. And so that was really hard.
Yes, I can understand that. So what led you, how did you come across NAMI?
You know, a friend of a friend, and someone said, oh, there's this group that meets and there's a support group. And I got some names, and then I went to my first support group, and that's when it happened. So I probably should explain what NAMI is and like who they are and stuff. So would you like me to do that?
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. So NAMI stands for National Alliance for Mental Illness, and they are the largest grassroots organization in the United States that are dedicated to enhancing lives for millions of Americans that are affected by mental illness. And their mission statement is that they provide advocacy, education, support, and public awareness. Their values, which I totally felt right away, were one of hope and the possibility of recovery. They're inclusive, they empower, they deal with you with compassion and fairness, no matter who you are, whether you have a mental illness or you're a family of someone that does.
Wow, thank you so much for that. So you talked about support groups. So do we currently have NAMI sports groups going here in Sandpoint?
We do. I think I want to just say a little bit more about NAMI just for a second, and then I'll get into that. So and today its impact is amazing. So they're the nation's leading voice on mental health, and they have 600 local affiliates, 4 state organizations. And our affiliate is called Nami Far North. And so getting into what we do everything NAMI does, but on this community level, we have support groups, and they're called Connections. And there's also, so that Connections is the one for people who live with mental illness that are recovering or recovered, or for whatever reason, they love to be together and talk about what's going on with their lives. There's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of good things that happen to them too, that they like to share. And then the other one is for family. So it's called Family Support Group. And that is for family members and caregivers, or friends, like super close friends. They're very confidential. I want to add that have to be confidential, and they have a very specific way of dealing so that you get your turn and you can listen to everyone's input. So very well organized is what I'd like to say. Everything has to be done a certain way. Very positive as well. And so we meet every third Wednesday at 5:30 at the VFW Hall, which is on Pine Street. And we also have speakers that come in and lead in the beginning, like anything relating to mental health, physical, mental, anything like that. So we'll have speakers that start, and then we do our support group after that. Speakers gives a 30-minute talk about something interesting.
Do you have facilitators for these groups then that keep them in order? You would have to. Yes, I could.
Yeah, they're trained. They're trained. It's so well run, because you know how when you get caught up in something, you can just go on and on and on, like I might be doing right now. There's a very good limits. And along with that, we have to read some things that apply to us for that moment. So NAMI's got it together. They really help you with your own state of whatever you're in. You could be grieving, you could be happy, you could be, there's all kinds of stuff that you can express in those groups.
Wow, that would be amazing help, especially I can see, especially at the beginning for parents or friends or caregivers, or even the brothers and sisters, to be able to go in and hear that they're not alone. There's other people out there going through the same things or have gone through the same things, and to share that information is so powerful. To know that there's other people in the community you can reach out to. Wow.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that hit me the first time I went, which was the hook, is that there are always people that have something way worse happen to them. And I know that we all consider our particular obstacle the worst obstacle that someone could have. It's a perception thing. And also, you're experiencing your own problems. But then when you hear someone else's, you're just like, wow, I really, really feel compassion for that person. And I'm honoring that this is not going to be easy. And I'm going to use them as models for how I can help recover myself. So, because some people with mental illness don't always live, but then there are people that live, but they're not able to be functional. And then there are people that recover and do really well with their lives and are very, find that balance in their life with living with their disease.
And really helping the family also live with it. Because I'm sure having one child, so you have more than one child, you have two. So I'm sure that affects your other child too, how they, how that affects their life because of maybe attention, or their concern for their sibling or their parents, or yeah, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's actually that all the things that you mentioned happened, but also his sister was younger, and she kind of lived in his shadow because he was amazing, and he still is. But what happened is she was left with like, oh, what is my position now? Like, I can't be the older sister. That's not my birth order.
Yeah.
As we all know, this is a hard thing when you're 13 to have your brother have this problem and you're going through your teenage years. So she has a lot of recovery to do on her own. She's doing okay. She gets really anxious sometimes and, angry at the situation, but I think we've gotten so much help that we're able to get her ready for what the future might bring if Dustin has a another relapse or something like that she'll be able to pitch in for dead when we die.
Yes, definitely. And
will bring me to my topic of another thing that Nami does. Do you want me to tell you?
Yes, please keep going. Yes, thank you.
So Nami, besides, so they advocate.
Yes, and then there needs to be a lot of that, because I think people don't understand a lot of time, or like you mentioned, the stigma around a mental illness, and there's a lot of needs out there on the legal end of it, different type of services that are needed, additional funding for different things that person might need or the family might need. So that happens within, does it happen at your level? How does advocacy happen at the local level?
That's a really good question. And what happened with Nami is I got turned on to a mental health family member who was a lawyer, and she gave me legal advice, and it helped me and my husband get guardianship over an adult that we didn't know anything about. That would help the doctors and my son if he were to become unable to express himself in the hospital, that we would be able to come in and have, as if you were the parent, rights.
Very needed, yes, in those difficult situations. So as the president of NAMI, what is your role within the group?
I am a director. I organize the meetings. We come up with agendas and strategic planning. I do a lot of education that isn't a presidential duty, but we have specific educational series that we do. One is a 12-week program. They're free, and they will help family to family, it's called. They'll help families understand their loved ones' diseases. So they educate about the brain, the diseases. They have empathy exercises. They have a lot of advocacy in them. It's so good. It was one of the things that helped me so much. So I became a teacher. So I do that. And then there's another one that's a 90-minute kind of condensed version of that. And we've done a couple of those. We do about 3 a year of whichever one. So that's one of the things. As far as presidency goes, I just organize things that we can do and get us moving towards our missions for the group.
And I was fortunate enough about 1.5 years ago to be in the 90-minute presentation. And I thought that it was so amazing. I deal with a son that deals with mental health issues and addictions, and it just spoke to my heart. What I really took away from it is yourself and the other speakers, how they were able to share their journey along this path with their child, and what the journey is like today, still with that child, and in a realistic way. So those of us that maybe have never talked about it really can understand what it looks like in the long term for the parent. It's not like having a cold and then you get better in a couple days. This is something that is most of the time lifelong in one way or the other. So it was so informational, and I really appreciated it. And it really, I didn't know much about NAMI before that, but it surely made me really respect the group and how they interact with those in the community that needs this kind of education and assistance. So my hats go off to your group, because that's amazing. One of the questions that come to mind that I haven't asked yet is, what would you say as a group you're most successful at? What have been your wins since you've been with the group, Dawn?
I think the best part of what we've done, we had a crisis line for a while, and I felt like that was so helpful. It was discontinued for a couple of reasons, but that was a big deal and very successful. But support and education are probably the biggest things that we have done in the past. And that's why I'm here. And we have such a good group, and our board is varied. So we have a law officer on our board. We are previous retired, and then we have a suicide prevention therapist. She's a psychologist on our board. We've got people that have mental illness themselves on the board, and then a therapist. So we've got this great range of people that help us do supporting and education.
That's amazing.
It takes time. It takes time. It seems like it's a one word thing, but it's so much time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. How do we get a hold of you if somebody's new and coming in and this is their first time? How do they join in with NAMI?
Well, the first thing is you can drop in at a meeting. We have the support meetings every third Wednesday, 5:30 at the Pine Street VFW. And you just drop in 5:30, and it usually lasts about 2 hours. So that's one way. You can use our website, and the website has, let me just make sure I've got it right here. It is namifarnorth.org, all one word. We also have a Facebook page. It's at Nami Far North. Those are the three ways. Oh, there's another way. You can call me 208-290-1768.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that information. So then my last question. So what's next for you, and what's next for Nami Far North?
Well, what we're working on right now is we just finished our last strategic plan. So that's great. That's all just business stuff. But we are trying to do a series of movies to bring the community together and kind of let people know who we are. Because I think a lot of people don't know who we are, and it's kind of like a marketing thing. We want to brand ourselves and make sure that folks know we're out there to help them. Because I know there's 1 in 5 people have mental illness, and 20% of those have severe mental illness. There's people out there. They just don't know that we're around. So the movie nights are going to be every 2 to 3 months. We're having one come up in March, and they're usually PG rated, so that we can have children there, and that's nice for parents. And we'll have free food. We did a free tacos and tickets last 2 months ago, and that was really fun.
Good idea.
And then, yeah, it was really fun. We have Jupiter Jane. She's our girl.
Oh yeah.
She's so fun. And then we also are working on a big project, which is this idea of having a clubhouse, which would be a place for people that are recovering from mental illness or are, rehabbing or whatever they're doing. They need some quiet, but they want to be out of their homes, because a lot of recovery, first of all, it takes 1 to 3 years for the brain to rewire once it stops being on fire, I guess you could say. And so this house is really important, because when people get out of the state hospital or a hospital, oftentimes they don't really have anywhere to go unless they have a family that can care for them in the way that they need. And my son was lucky that we were able to do that. It was tough, but we did have some resources and patience and medical knowledge and all of that. But not everybody has that. And so this clubhouse would be a place for them to come where they can either they can just lounge if they want. They don't have to do anything there. They could have help if they wanted, learn new skills, garden, paint, whatever they want to do. Maybe there's a jobbery, like a vocational center there. We'd also like to use it as our big space for meetings and speakers and things. So that's our idea, and I can't wait to do it. We just need to plan it and then fund it.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a wonderful idea for our community. So it's something to look forward to and move forward to and work on as a group and a community. Is there anything else that you want to share in our talk today?
No, just thanks for doing this for us, because I think we have a lot to offer and people just don't know. So thank you so much, Jackie. You asked really good questions.
And I totally agree with you. It's not very well known. It's a word that I saw a lot, and I knew it was a good word, but I didn't know what the scope of it was. So I'm glad to do this today. And I also want the audience to know that you're going to be part of our upcoming mental health services for our community meeting, our SPIN meeting that's happening on Thursday, February 17th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. here in the Community Resource and Visions conference room. So you'll expand a little bit more for our audience and join the other mental health providers that will be here. I think that this time going, which I am hoping is post-COVID, as people start to move back into what we call a normal life, that this is a good time to talk about how we can work on our mental health just like we would our physical health and our spiritual health. So I think this is a great time for this, and I'm so thankful that you've taken the time to talk and to be open about your own journey with your son and your family. It's so important. I've learned a lot from my own life from listening to you, and I just admire what you've done, and that you did this all as a professional woman with a practice and and owning a business at the same time. So just that you're, that you speak well for keeping it all together. So I admire that about you. You're a great role model for the rest of us. So enjoy the rest of your time in the sunshine. I know vitamin D is well needed at the year, and we'll see you in February.
All right, Jackie. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. You have an awesome day.
Thanks. Bye-bye. I will. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. For more information, you can go to crecidaho.com. Please like, share, and subscribe. We will see you again soon.